Hi, my name is Doug Chase. I'm the Director of Training for Coro Cybersecurity, and I thank you for joining me today. So I've been asked to talk about cybersecurity best practices, which is it's a very big topic. It means a lot to different organizations, for small businesses, medium businesses, and enterprises, all of which means something different. You also have best practices for specific verticals, such as healthcare, manufacturing, financial organizations, educational institutions. So it's a very big topic, and it can actually get very confusing. To unravel some of that confusion, an organization called NIST, the National Institution for Standards and Technology, which is a government organization under the Department of Commerce, put together frameworks that allow you to be able to do best practices across basically anything that's complex and important. And cybersecurity is one of those frameworks. So the framework itself for NIST is, kind of hinges on 5 pillars, which is identify, the ability to be able to identify what in your organization you want to protect, who you want to protect, the ability to protect it, right? So what information do you want to protect, and how do you envision yourself protecting this really valuable information? Being able to detect. How do we know if a cybersecurity event is occurring? Then it hinges upon your ability to be able to respond to it. So when an event occurs, how are you as an organization going to respond and deal with it? And then finally, being able to recover from it, right? Do you have a business continuity or disaster recovery placement plan in case of a worst case scenario? So this framework, identify, protect, detect, respond, and recover, form the basis of many different categories within each of them. So once you've gone through that exercise in terms of the identifying, protecting, detecting, responding, recovering, then you look at your own organization. When you dig a little bit deeper, NIST actually has 4 tiers of where they consider organizations to be in terms of their cybersecurity readiness. The first one is partial, which is basically you don't have much in place at all except maybe some of the technologies that are already built in to the products that you're currently using. So, essentially you're just leaving it up to chance, and you'll deal with whatever comes when it comes. And then you have risk informed, which is where an organization has awareness of what the risks that are out there. They understand phishing, and they understand malware and ransomware and things like that. But for whatever, their own reasons, they don't have the tools or the resources in place to be able to implement any of that, but at least they're aware of it. And then you have repeatable. And repeatable is where you have some of these tools in place and you can be proactive to a degree in terms of being able to get out ahead of some of these threats. And then finally, adaptive is the last tier. And adaptive is the most intelligent, which means that you've put tools in place that are able to adapt to changing needs from a cybersecurity risk perspective. Adaptive is where you want to be because that's where your best cybersecurity bang for your buck is going to be. The ability to be able to adapt to new threats coming in, and the ability to be able to adapt not only to new threats, but also the ways that attacks are occurring, such as, within, the data itself, the insider threats, email, cloud application security, endpoint protection, right? These are things that constantly need to be monitored, constantly need to be updated. And frankly, most organizations, particularly small and medium-sized businesses, don't have either the resources in-house or the budget, to go best of breed across the board. That's why Coro was invented, specifically, was to be able to allow small and medium-sized businesses to have an enterprise-like implementation tier at a budget, frankly, that is incredible, for the value that it brings.